time. Here we go. We are live one more time. Hopefully, my friends get back to me. Here we go. Okay. Am I back on? I'm back on. Am I back on here? Okay. Mystic is here. Okay, great. Let me get you the link, my friend. Let me get you the link. Okay. Yeah. All right. Control V, and there we go. Okay. Hey, Brian. All right. Hey, Mystic. Okay. Back with you. Go ahead and come on. Okay, the link's up, guys. Come on in. There we go. We got this and we got EG Outdoors.
Okay.
Back on.
Try again.
Yes, sir. So how's everybody going? How's everything going?
Well, I'm fighting computer malfunctions, software malfunctions, operating system malfunctions, the strep, blood pressure, all kinds of things, and it's just like nonstop. And so I had to make a little bit of a change of plans.
Okay.
Now I had hoped to do all of this all at once, but I'm only going to be reading chapters 1, 2, and 3 of Revelation. There is a lot to unpack there because
Sure.
the whole point of this is that people need to understand how to interpret it.
Yes.
And there's several things about that. One is, of course, that it was the biggest one is that people don't understand or know anything about Hebrew culture, which a lot of these concepts are based. So they don't have the concepts. And if they don't have the concepts, then they don't know the words or the phrases.
True.
So for example, when we read that what Jesus said, no one shall know the hour or the day, not even the Son of Man. That's not just saying that no one knows. That's not entirely what it means. He's actually using code, and the reason he's using code is because he's in a war, as are we. And he has to be very careful, not only to pull in demonic forces into his plans, but also he has to be careful not to bring in humans who are also opposed to it. In Hebrew culture, actually the Hebrew calendar is founded the first day of the year when the new moon is sighted after the barley has become Aviv. Those are the two conditions for starting a new year. The new moon has to be sighted by 2 witnesses. And the priests have to test the barley to see if it's ready to harvest. Those 2 things must be met. If they don't, then another extra month is added. So instead of having a 12-month year, they have a 13-month year. The month is the month is called Bet. And I'm sorry. It's called Adar. It's the month of Adar. Bet is the number 2. So they add an extra month to their calendar called Adar Bet, which is Adar number 2. Okay. So when that actually happens, nobody knows until it actually happens. In fact, if the weather doesn't allow them to sight the new moon, they still have to add that extra month. Yehovah is in control of the weather and what they see and when the barley becomes ripe. And when that first day of the year is known, then all the rest of the days of the year are counted. And that determines when the festivals are. And the festivals are the days when all prophecies happen.
Yes.
So, the reason why no man knows the day or the hour when the Son of Man returns is because until that last year of time, no one knows exactly when the year starts. However, once it starts, you do know the day that he returns. It's going to be on the Day of Trumpets, or Yom Teruah, which is coming up. Okay?
Okay.
So, a couple things you have to look at. That's number 1. Number 2 is, when he spoke it, it was absolutely true that no one knew when. That does not mean no one will ever know. And number 3, the reason why he speaks in parables and prophetic codes is because he only wants his servants, the people who are so dedicated to him that they will bother themselves to learn the codes and to live the life dictated by his law. Only they will actually understand what he's saying in the parables. And therefore, only they will know what to do, and the enemy will not know what we're doing.
Correct. It's like it's almost like speaking in tongues.
Yeah. But in this case, a large part of the knowledge was only available now in this generation. A large part of that knowledge was understandable only after we had seen prophecies come to pass, and then we understand what the words meant. And another very large part of this is that the concepts for what are happening nowadays simply did not exist when those words were spoken. So the words that were spoken had to be chosen in a way that would explain what was happening, and some of it is symbolic. Some of it is not symbolic. It's quite plain text. In fact, over the years, as I've watched real life events catch up with prophecy, the more I have seen, the more I have realized that much of prophecy is literally spoken. It's not in code at all. It happens literally that way. However, we had no way of knowing what he was talking about because even the concepts did not exist until those events happened.
Okay.
So, a lot of people nowadays, of course, many people have seen historical events happening, but because they didn't know the prophecies, they didn't know that prophecies were being fulfilled.
Yeah, they didn't know how to interpret them.
They didn't even know there was anything to interpret, yes. Now that they're learning that there's something to interpret, they have no reference point. They don't even realize that many of these prophecies have already happened. And part of learning prophecy is to read where it has been, and then look back on those events. Then you can understand how the language works.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's difficult.
But of course, yeah. Well, plus you also need the dictionary, the code dictionary as well. And
Yeah, it's something I don't have.
oh well. Okay. So the code is actually spelled out in various places in the Bible, and they are separated statements. You have to put all the different stories and statements together as puzzle pieces before you start getting a complete picture. We now have enough of the puzzle pieces to have an almost complete detailed picture of the past, and it's easy to see where we're headed in the future. So part of the code, for example, is that one day of the Lord is like 1,000 years to man. And 1,000 years to man is like a day of the Lord. So when you are reading I'm sorry? Oops, we're losing audio. What was that?
Yeah. I completely lost your audio.
Okay, so I said part of the code is that one day of the Lord is like 1,000 years,
Sure.
and
Yes.
1,000 years is like one day of the Lord. Okay,
Yes.
so the prophecies are written as if we're talking about days and weeks and months, but in fact we're talking about years and centuries and millennia.
Centuries, decades, centuries, and millennia. Yes.
Yeah. So in the prophetic um, language,
Losing you
the
again.
earth is 7 days old or 7,000 years old.
Brian, can you hear him still?
What's that?
I think Brian froze.
Oh, can you hear? Are you there, Brian?
I can hear you just fine. It's on his end,
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's going to drop out again.
and that's sad because I was getting into it, but I don't want to. He's not on here too. It's live stream.
Yeah.
Brian, are you there, buddy? Oh boy.
I really should have taken this in the house too, because the signal would be so much better. I'm really hanging out here.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna hit off here for a second. If he comes back on, I'll join. But
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, there he goes.
I'll see you in a little bit. I know.
I think we may end up doing this next week, which actually kind of works out for me because, like I said, I was planning to do this entire thing all at once, real fast. But I needed to be able to post charts and graphs and illustrations up on the screen, and none of my computer's been working. I can't find any of my studio equipment, none of my cameras, studio microphones. I've got one good light, and that's about it. And
All right. Well,
yeah,
if he jumps back on, I'll jump back on. But
okay.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go back to monitoring YouTube. That's how you would generally reappear.
Right. All right, buddy. I'll see you in a little while.
All right.
All right.